Hi guys, top 3 tips today that we're going to look at is recruitment. So recruitment, we see if you're getting the same kind of problems all the time in your service, you might have educators that aren't implementing policies, or that don't understand the philosophy, or they're not implementing the philosophy, or if you're any kind of consistent issues that are putting you at risk, or putting your approvals at risk, those sorts of things. So if you've got any of those ongoing, or you feel like you're working really hard but you're not getting ahead, one of the things that I would like you to have a look at, and this is the top 3 tips for having a look at this, is your recruitment strategy. So what are you doing? Do you have a selection criteria? So a selection criteria, I say this all the time, so you would have like a grade. So you would obviously, accept your diploma first, then your cert, then you're working towards your cert. So that might be in that order. So if you've got 1 vacancy and you've got 3 educators applying for that vacancy, this is how you would position them just on the offset. This would also be built out. You would have like your qualification, the experience that they have, and then the state of the home, whether that can really support an educational program, those sorts of things. So develop your selection criteria of who is it ideally you want, and then you would target them, and that's how you would recruit. So you would get the really strong candidates in first, and then if you do need any extra educators, then you would go down, and hopefully the training strategy would bring those back up. So have a look. I've got a ratings and assessment video that would really help with that strategy to increase those kind of skills. Then you've got your screening process as part of your recruitment. You've really got to do a thorough screening. You can't take, and this is any business, this is not just family daycare, this is strong business practice. You don't, if I were going for a job in an accounting firm, they would look at my qualifications first, then they would look at my experience, and then they would look at, if I had any other skills, like, I don't know, MIOB or Xero or whatever that is. So then they would look at that also. When it came time to screening, they would speak to my previous employers, those sorts of things. They would verify that I am who I am. They would verify that I don't have a history of, if I'm going for an accountant, a history of fraud or those sorts of things. Character references don't do very well to a degree. So look, I know for me, if I was coming for a job with you and you asked for a character reference, of course it's going to be somebody in my world. I'm not, somebody that knows me. I'm not going to put, that risk out there that it might be somebody who won't speak highly of me. So it's kind of a given that a character reference really doesn't carry much weight. So professional references is what you want. Do a little bit of research, find out, ask some questions, get the person on the phone talking, get a little bit of sense of what most times a reference won't say, oh no, they're terrible. But if you ask questions, they might say, oh, Jodie needs some assistance in this area, or when we worked with Jodie, she was lovely to work with, she was very competent on this level, but we found that we had to remind her a few times in order to do this, so that you know what you're getting. So do some thorough screening before you get them in. And make sure you have a strong induction program. Now, that induction program should really be part of your systems and in your policies, which again, I've got another video for that, so that if you want to check out what that is, you can do that. Your induction program. How do you identify if you've done the right thing here? You still need to make sure that these educators are right, because we're all on our best behaviour in those first 3 months, no matter who we are. So what do they need to know? So they need to know your policies and procedures, firstly. So you need to have some kind of process in place that your educators get to know what's in your policies and procedures. Don't just hand people policies and say, here, these are our policies. There's very few people that will read policies, and we know that behaviourally. They might glance through them, they might look at the headings, they might look at, things that relate directly to them. Most people will read a contract, but most people won't read policies and procedures. So you've got to have a process in place to communicate what is in those policies and procedures. I am going to I've got a video for that actually, about how you can do that. So that's your induction. Now, induction, you might decide they have more increased visits during that time. They might have less children during that period. They might, depending on the educator, depending on what you want to do, You've got to have a robust induction program so that at the end of that program, everything is clearly documented. You know that if I'm your educator that you've just inducted, you've said, okay, Jodie, this is what's in this policy. Okay, Jodie, this is how we do this. Okay, Jodie, this is how you report to. Okay, Jodie, this is how we do this. And that's all clearly documented so that if down the track I'm not doing what I should if I'm not doing what I should be doing, then you have the ability to say, here, Jodie, we know that we've provided you this information. What has happened that you could not either do this or implement this or didn't understand this or whatever that is? And that could be you might need to put additional supports in place. We don't know what that means yet, but so your induction program will help you look back on an educator and say, well, we know we covered off all of this, so what is going wrong? What do we need to do? So they're my top 3 tips for making sure you recruit the right educators. And remember, with the recruiting of the educators, that will set the standard of your service. So you want to be at meetings. So you've got to get educators that understand what meeting is, what that looks like, how they can apply that in their home, so that your entire service will either achieve meeting, and if you achieve meeting, then move forward to exceeding. That would be excellent. So my top 3 tips for recruitment. So we'll talk soon. See ya. Bye.